Well, there has been another nipple slip on the Super Bowl, and a giant 20-foot ape been spotted in New York City. This and more on tonight's Jacob Young Show. Welcome, it's Wednesday, February 6, 2019, and I am live. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you, everyone, for joining me. Now, I know that there has been a lot of morning quarterbacks already, Monday morning quarterbacks, but I haven't had my say yet about the Super Bowl. It's being called the Super Bowl. Not only was it the lowest scoring Super Bowl in the history, but the Maroon 5 halftime show was not a hit with the critics, many of their fans. Sharon Osbourne, who manages not only her husband Ozzy, but a lot of popular heavy metal bands. Popular heavy metal bands chimed in that she thought Adam Levine and Maroon 5 weren't that great of radio. They're great radio performance with catchy songs, but thinks they don't have the ability to be holding the attention of a large stadium audience. Now, she also went on to say that she thought that he was improving the last bit where he was actually taking off of his shirt to get the crowd's attention. Now, I have to disagree with Sharon on this one because, you know, Adam is known. Anybody who knows, have seen Adam Levine and Maroon 5, he's always performing with his shirt off. So I have to disagree with that. But here's my personal opinion, and I wonder if you guys will agree or disagree with me. But I watched it, and as an artist, as an entertainer, I always, I'm always watching it under a microscope, and I noticed that his performance was very lackluster. And I credit that, of course, to the controversy about anybody performing and how there was a backlash against that. And of course, I think, maybe I'm wrong, but because he was performing with a little bit of lackluster, and if he was performing maybe, say, over the top and doing his normal performance, that it might have seemed like he wasn't enjoying himself. He was enjoying himself more. And that he wasn't supporting, the ban against, or the potential ban against performing at the halftime show. Now, I'm not quite sure if that is actually the case, but it certainly seemed like it, because I've definitely seen him even on The Voice perform with a lot more energy than that. So what do you think? I'm really curious to what everybody has to say about that. And another thing, a lot of people who had not maybe seen Adam with his shirt off, that might have enjoyed the music and never seen him perform, noticed that he has a lot of tattoos. And he's almost completely covered. I mean, he actually looks like sometimes when he does that he's still wearing his shirt. I myself have had a few tattoos, and I've even had one erased, which is a very long process. It's multiple times going back to the clinic. And Darren says, Levine is far too cheesy. He believes he's the cat's meow. Stacy says she loves Janet Jackson. But anyway, I don't recommend it. It hurts like hell. But if you do make a mistake on your body, it's nice to have that option out there. I'm glad that it was available when I did it. And, Kenneth, how are you doing? Good to see you in the chat room here and watching the show tonight. Kathy Cook, she says, he did seem a bit off. I was surprised he had so many tattoos. Yeah, the one that surprised me, the tattoo that surprised me the most, is he had California on above his navel. Now, I'm not sure if it's just, if he was found unconscious for some reason and he needed to get back home, people would know that he's from California. I don't know. I mean, I've seen people tattoo their states and stuff from him, but California seems a very large California tattoo. Kenneth says, I'm so ready for Monday. Have an awesome time. Thank you so much. Tattoos, are very interesting. And, I think a lot of people, they get addicted to them, of course, and it's a lot like plastic surgery. Once someone starts, they tend to keep on adding on. Yes, it's like an artist who needs to know when the painting is finished. Now, there was also a lot of controversy. There was like a double standard about, Janet Jackson's nip slip and him taking his shirt off. And I obviously, in my opinion, it's like there's no there's no controversy. I mean, you know, I understand, you know, there might be some women out there say, yeah, hell yes, women should take their shirts off, or be able to take their shirts off without judgment. But, you know, unfortunately, that's just the way it is. And, you know, so he went topless. But it was weird that I read about that there was people that were actually pissed off that he did that, and that Janet had gotten, you know, such bad backlash for her Justin Timberlake nip slip. Right or wrong, it's you know, it's the way it is. And people, you know, I obviously wouldn't want my kids going, why is her shirt off, Daddy? But, you know, some people might disagree with me on that. Anybody have any favorite Super Bowl commercials? The Super Bowl is also famous for their $1 million commercials, but this year, I didn't really find anything that really knocked my socks off. One of the major beer brands kept advertising that they don't use corn syrup in their brew. I didn't realize that corn syrup really was that big of an ingredient in beer. But I suppose with all the microbreweries out there now making high-quality beer in small batches, they have better control over their ingredients, of course. That's the thing with some of the microbreweries, though. You know, if you get attached to them and they make the batch and the batch is finished, you know, you may never find that beer again. So I try not to get too attached, just in case. So any beer drinkers out there, let me know. Let me know. I just read, my wife just chimed in. Grace did ask why he was naked. He did. She did, actually. She actually said, why is his shirt off, Mommy? Is there any favorite IPAs or, you know, microbrews that you want to share with us? I'm always open for a good beer. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. That your son was robbed at gunpoint. All right, well, I'm so glad that he's okay, and obviously you should be tending to your son, and our prayers are with him, and I'm glad everybody is okay. But that is a horrible, horrible thing to happen. Darren says the NFL gave Timberlake a pass, but not Janet Jackson. Until they invite her back, the halftime show will never be right itself. Now, I've heard that. I totally agree because she is an amazing entertainer with so many great songs, great hits. Kenneth Clark said, my all-time favorite is my Ali Landry, Doritos commercial. Yeah, that is a good one. So I also want to give a special shout-out to the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. In order to keep the venue family-friendly, the developers are keeping the cost down at the concession stands. Now, you can get a hot dog and a soda for under $5. Anyone who goes to a sporting event knows that that is a great deal. Usually you need to mortgage the house to buy food for the family at a stadium. I think it's great that they're making an effort to keep the prices low. They'll probably sell a lot more hot dogs in the process. You know, yeah, it can get really, really spendy. And not only is going to sporting events very expensive, but Broadway shows and tickets, they average over $100 each. They can go up a lot more if anybody went and saw Hamilton. Of course, that was, you know, thousands of dollars at some cases. In the wintertime, most shows in New York offer great deals to encourage audiences to come out in the cold and the snow. My guest this week, Casey Garvin, is one of what's called the King's Company of Puppeteers, who literally bring King Kong to life on the Broadway stage in the new musical King Kong. Casey is one of the most talented and nicest guys working on Broadway today. In addition to King Kong, he recently was in Miss Saigon, and he made his Broadway debut dancing in Woody Allen's Bullets Over Broadway with our mutual friend Jim Borstman, who I'm hoping is watching the show. He's actually, I think he's doing some rehearsals, getting ready to go into a show. Casey and I filmed this interview before this Sunday's matinee of King Kong, and I really want you to meet him now. So here's my interview with Casey Garvin from King Kong. My guest this week is a major part of the King Kong on Broadway. You've heard the expression being someone's right hand. This guy is King Kong's right paw, literally. Welcome, Casey Garvin, to the Jacob Young Show.
Hey, how's it going?
We're going, man. Thank you so much for doing the interview today.
Of course, happy to be here.
Yeah, man. Well, you know, King Kong is getting so much news in the press. It's such a big show. I mean, not just metaphorically speaking. It's a, you know, it is a big, big show. So King Kong is the largest character to ever play on Broadway stage. He's 20 feet tall. He weighs 2,000 pounds, And in his new $35 million musical, ladies and gentlemen, his moves and facial expressions are so real, sometimes even heartbreaking. Casey, you're one of 10 people that make him go. Normally, when you do an audition for Broadway musical, you sing a song, you do a dance combination, maybe you read some sides. How do you audition for something like this and prove that you have puppetry skills?
Yeah, well, a lot of us didn't have any sort of puppetry skills going into it. It was a lot of dancers and a lot of different walks of performance life. So when we all came in this audition room, I think it was a little bit intimidating knowing how big Kong was. But we did a lot of partner work and group skills where we would do things like you have to make it from one point of the room to the other side of the room, and you have to get over the people in front of you, or you have to balance a stick in your hand and try to keep it in the air as long as possible. Things that, you know, aren't really in the show, but just to prove that you have communication skills and that you work well in a group and that you can problem solve if something goes wrong. And most importantly, I think that you have a willingness and a positivity about you as you're trying things that maybe aren't comfortable for you.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be right on top of each other putting this costume together.
Yeah, 100%.
Or the character of Kong, rather.
Yeah, yeah. It's a team effort for sure.
Yeah, you could be like, man, you didn't put deodorant on today.
I'm sorry?
If someone's right next to you, did you put deodorant on today?
Yeah.
Oh, man, really?
You get very close. You get some people's sweat on your body for sure as you're climbing on top of them to try to get up the monkey.
Well, Kong is one of my favorite, films of all time. Of course, I mean it's a favorite. They've remade it 1,000 times, but to see it on Broadway like this is something, and I can't wait to see it. I'm really very excited to see it. It's on my bucket list, so when I get out to New York, I'm definitely going to come check it out.
Sure, it's really special what we're doing.
Well, how did you get your start? Training for Broadway. Did you begin as a dancer?
I did. I started as a kid as an actor. And kind of started dancing around the same time and taking voice lessons probably when I was 6 or 7. And I knew that like Broadway was it, man. That's like all I wanted to do. I just loved it so much. I would like sit with my headphones in the back of my parents' car and just like imagine myself being in these shows. And so I trained for a while and wasn't very good as a kid, as most, kids aren't very great. And went through an awkward kind of middle school phase. And then in high school, I had a growth spurt and decided to start taking dance more seriously. And I was fortunate that I had some teachers and mentors who took me under their wing and helped me grow. And as I grew and put the effort in, I started falling even more in love with it. And I was at a dance competition studio. So I was a heavy dancer, but also was like, I don't know if it's dance that I want to do specifically, or if dance is kind of going to be my way in to being an actor. And so now I feel like a well-rounded performer, but in high school, I was definitely a dancer who could sing and act. And I would like skip class in high school and take a bus into New York City and go audition when I was 15, 16, 17 and take voice lessons. And
you were basically going to college. You're going to college. That was your college, man. I mean, it's funny as an actor. I mean, I obviously didn't go the traditional route. I was accepted to a college. I thought I was going to go to college. I told my dad, I said, I'm going to be an actor. And he goes, it's your life.
Oh,
so I had a lot of reinforcement from the very beginning.
Yeah, it worked out for you. So
well, and it sounds like it's working out for you too, man. I mean, what an exciting show to be a part of.
Yeah, I also went the non-traditional route. I was supposed to go to a school and then was like, you know what? I think I can go my own path and try to figure this out myself, which is not for everyone. Some people have to go to school, which I recommend both. It depends on
absolutely. Go to school, kids. Make sure you go to school.
Yeah.
Well, in addition to being Kong's right paw, you played a very funny character in the second act, has a lot of athletic choreography and all the dance numbers throughout the show. Do you find time, or do you even need to hit the gym when you're doing a musical that is as strenuous as this one?
I do. I go to the gym almost every day. I'm on a fitness journey that started when I booked Kong. So I think it's maintaining. It's also working the muscles that I don't normally work during the show. So when I'm on Kong, a lot of the movement is kind of pressing forward and down. So a lot of chest work and shoulder work. So when I'm at the gym, I try as much as I can to do a lot of back work, lower body work to kind of strengthen the other parts that I'm not
Yeah,
working.
because you're constantly lifting up. I mean, I would imagine it's it's a big pole that you're holding on to, right, and moving around, and those movements have to be so fluent to make it look right.
Yeah, you have to be stronger than your show. That's kind of what we say on Broadway is, you're doing a show 8 times a week. It's athletic, it's physical. You have to, be putting in effort in other ways so that you're stronger than your show.
You're stronger than your show. I love that expression. That is awesome. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna start using that. I'm gonna tell my wife, I'm stronger than my show. All right. So here, so somehow while you're performing in King Kong, you recently played the lead in a presentation of the musical version of the classic novel and film From Here to Eternity. You played the
Yeah.
lead character, Private Robert E. Lee Pruitt, played by Montgomery Clift, of course, of the Oscar award-winning movie. Tell our audience a little bit about this character and this new show that will hopefully come to Broadway.
Yeah, hopefully. So the process was a 3-week kind of workshopping of this show. And I played Pruitt. He was a prize fighter who ended up blinding someone and made a promise to his mother before she died that he would never fight for the sake of fighting. So he hurt this guy and felt a lot of guilt over it. He is in the army in Hawaii in World War II. And so I'm sure, you can imagine that Pearl Harbor is about to happen. That's, leading up to Pearl Harbor's when the show takes place. And so the higher ups in the army want Pruitt to fight as a boxer so that they can have their own end game and, that they do it for their own means. And he doesn't want to fight. So it's kind of his struggle, as well as getting to explore some of the other characters in the show. It was a really cool experience to play.
And how did you find the time between doing Kong and this?
I was doing double duty for 3 weeks. I went from January 1st to the 28th without a single day off, but it was totally worth it.
Yeah.
We would rehearse for From Here to Eternity from 10 to 6, Monday through Saturday. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'd have a 7 o'clock show. So I'd run, grab food, get to the theater and do Kong. On Wednesdays, I'd have 2 shows. So I'd rehearse from 10 to 1, go do a matinee, come back at 4:30 for Here to Eternity, then go back to Kong and do a night show. Same on Saturdays. Sundays, I had off from For Here to Eternity, but I had a matinee for Kong. Mondays, I had off from Kong, but had rehearsal 10 to 6.
Wow.
It was intense, honestly, but it was my first time playing a big role, and I was just so excited. So I had the adrenaline of that, and it was flexing a different creative muscle than I was doing at night. So it felt like almost 2 separate days, just really, really long days.
I could relate to this. I call it actors boot camp.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. When I was doing Beauty and the Beast on Broadway, I was also shooting All My Children, and I was doing 7 episodes, of course, because it was ABC and Disney on Broadway, ABC, Disney / So the synergy was there. They're like, oh, well, if he's doing a Broadway show, he might as well work 8 shows,
Yeah.
I went from doing an average of 3 or 4 episodes to like 8 shows a week. And then I was doing, of course, seven shows on Broadway. But I got to say, having that kind of conditioning, it really does change you in the mindset. It's like, it really is. It's like doing 2 different mediums, and, it makes you so strong as an actor to be able to juggle those 2. Good for you, brother. That's awesome.
Thanks.
Now, so word of mouth after From Here to Eternity was that you really knocked it out of the park vocally and in your dramatic scenes. Music icon Sir Tim Rice wrote the lyrics to the song. What was it like working so closely with him on this presentation?
Oh, it was awesome. He was so supportive. He's so passionate about his work and his material. I remember I was getting one lyric wrong, and he said, I just want to correct you on this one line, this one word. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. And he's like, no, it's okay. I just, it's important to me. So it was really incredible to see how much he loves his work. And the show was really stunning and really moving and beautiful. And the music was just incredible.
Oh, yeah.
So to have him there and to have him supporting me and saying that I was fantastic and he loved the choices I was making it was validating for sure as a human being and as an actor. But it felt surreal at times. And I was like, wow, these legends are
all that skipping school paid off.
Yeah.
All that skipping school paid off.
Yeah, 100%.
You got to pinch yourself like, yeah, I did the right thing.
Yeah.
So, did you ever watch the film version from Here to Eternity and King Kong, or read the books when you were preparing for the roles, or do you like to approach characters? Sorry, like to approach characters with your own fresh outlook?
Yeah, I chose from For Here to Eternity. I read a little bit of the book just to get some of Pruitt's backstory, and it's a gorgeous book. It's very dense. So I found out 3 weeks before we started rehearsals that I booked the show. So it's like I'm a fast reader, but I don't think I have time for all this. And Brett Smock, our director, told us that this production of the show was going to be based pretty much solely off the book. And there's, I think, a little bit of difference between the book and the movie. So with the book, I could take the characters' bits of information and kind of translate it into my own head. But I felt like watching the movie was going to make me pull choices that maybe weren't authentic or original for me. So I'm going to watch the movie now that the show is done, just to kind of, because I've heard it's fantastic and,
Yeah.
everyone knows about it. And I think I'm going to read the book further. I only got about 100 pages in.
Yeah, because it's like From Here to Eternity to get through it. No, it's a great piece, but it's a big piece. No, man, that's awesome. That's awesome. And as an actor, you feel responsible to bring forth the character that they're trying to portray, whether it's in a novel or a film version. And it's important to do the research. I think get every aspect, every take on it that you can, and then you inject yourself into that role.
Yeah, and now that I kind of have my own version of who Pruitt should be for me, now I can go watch it and not feel like I'm going to steal anything or
You'd be like,
copy.
my version's way better, guys.
I'm the best Pruitt, so
Well, that's awesome. Well, I understand that you're half Italian and you are very proud of your Italian heritage, which you should be. Hey, come on, white guy. What are some of your favorite Italian foods? And being in the physical shape that you are, how often do you indulge?
Yeah, well, I'm trying to get as cut as possible right now, so not a whole lot of Italian food, unfortunately. My mother's Italian food, home cooked, is the best. She makes the best chicken parm. That's my favorite.
Oh, that's my weakness. I love chicken parmesan.
So it's so good. She actually I was doing Miss Saigon at the Broadway Theater last year, and a couple times throughout the year, she would bring trays of chicken parm, baked ziti, and salad for the whole cast, and we would do a potluck in between shows where we would just indulge on Italian food. It was so great. She has to do that for Kong. I'm gonna let her know. She loves it. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, of course she does. I mean, an Italian woman, great cook, man. She's gonna make sure everybody's mangia. Everybody eat. Yeah, dude. I wish I had chicken parm right now. I'm literally hungover from last night. It's my wife's birthday, so of course there was a couple celebratory drinks that happened, and chicken parmesan is like my go-to.
Some pasta last night when you're drinking. That's the best.
It is the best.
Good.
So the New York Times said that King Kong is the most innovative show to play Broadway since The Lion King. Also perfect for international audience because they can follow along with the show even if there's a language barrier. What do you think makes the story of King Kong so universal?
Well, I think it's a story of humanity. You follow Ann Darrow, who wants to be an actress, and you follow her journey as to how far she's willing to go to get her dreams. And I think that's something that all of us as humans can kind of understand, is what you're willing to do in order to get what you want. And I think that with King Kong, it's such a physical show and it's a pretty simple storyline, even though Anne is a complex character and we have characters who are dealing with complex ideas and discovering things. But the storyline's pretty simple. They go to Skull Island, they get Kong, they come back, they put on a show. That's, the basic King Kong story with, twists and turns and fun other ideas. But because our show is so physical, I think the language barrier is, dissolved. You can sit and watch and understand what's going on and still enjoy this awesome, huge spectacle of a show.
Yeah, and I think it's so great because, when you watch the film version, of course, they bring Kong back from Skull Island. He's on stage, like a Broadway stage. Yeah. And it just makes perfect sense that they bring this to today, to the audiences on stage on Broadway. I love the puppetry stuff. I've been, a fan of course, The Lion King and all those over the years, and just that magic that happens that really puts you there. And I can't wait to see this show.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
It's pretty spectacular. It's really, really impressive what they've been able to do creating this puppet. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and I know a guy who's the right hand. He's my right hand.
Sure.
So Casey, I want to ask you this. I do this with all my folks. How can my fans follow you on social media?
At Casey Garvin on Instagram. I'm not on Twitter, but I am on Instagram, and I try to post actively and respond to my fans, the small amount that it is, but growing, hopefully.
Well, there will be some folks that are going to be following you after this interview.
Awesome. Yeah, at Casey Garvin, CaseyGarvin.
At Casey Garvin. So
yes.
I want to tell our audiences the winter time is the best time to get your seats on Broadway shows. And if you're going to be in New York, King Kong is currently running a special offer of 4 tickets for $196. You can bring your entire family for the experience that they'll never forget. Go to KingKongBroadway.com/winter. KingKongBroadway.com/winter for all the details. And I know you have a matinee today, and thank you so much for joining me. And I want to thank Casey Garvin, and I want to wish all the best for the King Kong team. And we all hope to see you on the next Broadway show, From Here to Eternity.
Yeah, hopefully.
Casey, yeah, I have a good feeling about this one. Thank you so much for taking time to be on the show today, and have an awesome show today.
Thanks. Bye, guys.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Well, that was Casey Garvin, ladies and gentlemen. And I can see that everybody is having their internal conversations with each other, which I absolutely love. It warms my heart to see everybody talking and discussing. Everybody here is friends and great. Eric Lipkin, I see that you're on here. And actually, this next point, one of these next points are going to be directed to you. So anyway, if you are in the New York area, you really, really do get your money's worth with King Kong. It's a huge spectacle of a show, and King Kong himself will really take your breath away. The producers are from Australia, and this summer, they're also opening a Broadway musical version of Moulin Rouge. Now, if y'all remember, Moulin Rouge was fantastic, great music. I'm not sure if there's going to be original music or they're going to be using some of the music from the movie, but I'm sure it'll be just as magical. I'll continue to bring you more guests from new Broadway shows in the up-and-coming months. And of course, next week, I wanted to let everybody know I'm flying to Los Angeles tomorrow morning, actually, to begin work on my next film. Because of the complexity of airing a live show while I'm in the middle of shooting a film, I'll be back live as soon as I'm home again in Utah. And while I'm in Los Angeles, I'll be pre-taping new interviews with more guests who are always interesting, like our up-and-coming interview with the Hollywood casting director, Paul Ruddy. He's fantastic. He'll be giving us all sorts of insights about what it takes to make it into the industry and get past the casting process and get to the producers and get hired for that job. So make sure you tell anybody who's an aspiring actor to please join in and join in on this conversation and ask as many questions as they like, because it's going to be a really educational time for anybody who's an aspiring actor. And if you need a Jacob Young fix in the meantime, of course, you can always go to YouTube and watch any of my previous shows. Also, I said last week that my Lifetime movies were airing on February 2nd, and it did say that on the guide. Now, for whatever reason, Lifetime has changed that. They're actually airing Sunday, February 10th, When Vows Break airs at 8 p.m., followed by Killer Vacation at 10, with, of course, my All My Children co-star Alexa Havin. So skip the Grammys. And tune in to Lifetime movies instead. You can see me play the bad guy, or am I the bad guy? You'll have to tune in and find out for sure. Now, I wanted to talk about obviously a very sad note, and it's been in the news heavily. Of course, we lost our dear, dear friend, Christophe St. John. And I just wanted to say a few words, because Christophe truly was an amazing human being. He never had a bad thing to say about anybody. He had always great advice. The death of his son, and he'd been going back and forth for a long time with blaming himself. And it was a really, I couldn't imagine losing a child, and it was very hard for him to deal with. And of course, nobody knows for sure if that's exactly what led to his death, but he had tweeted something recently, like a week ago, about his son, and I just know that he's with his son now, and they have been reunited, and he is with God, and he is definitely at peace, because I know these last few years of his life has been it's been turbulent, and he's been in turmoil, and but always still had a smile on his face, and always a nice thing to say. He always thought of somebody else before himself. He's truly missed, and he was a dear friend of mine. I'd known him for 20 some years. He had started on Young and the Restless not too many years before I started on Bold and the Beautiful, and of course we worked right across the hall from each other. So we were everybody always ran into each other. So it's I just want to let everybody know my thoughts on this, and I wanted everybody to take a moment, think about Christoph. He's been a great light in everybody's lives for so many years on so many television shows, not just Young and the Restless. He had a wonderful, expansive career, and he was so well liked. I see some comments coming up right now about that. Thanks for talking about it, Jacob. Yeah, of course, Stacy. A dear friend of mine. Candace, I seriously was in shell shock when I heard the news. Depression, I swear, you can't time it, can't turn it on and off, and it is a disease. Yeah, depression is a very, very serious, and there's so many outlets for depression, and if you're feeling that way, make sure you reach out. Just go online. There's you enter any kind of hotline, research, and there's multiple numbers that come up and operators that are willing to help at any time. So you're not alone in this battle, and I know it's tough, but make sure that you take care of yourself, and if you're feeling that way, reach out. Reach out to my email here. Reach out to when I'm on the show. Let us know. I mean, we're all here to talk, and honestly, we have a lot of fun on the show, but we also are human beings, and we're here to help out. So if you ever feel that, please feel free to talk to me about it. Chandler, what's up? Yeah, I do remember you from Ferguson Farms. Beautiful country down there. Thanks for joining. We were talking about something a little bit serious right now, of course, with the death of a dear friend, actor, this last week on Monday. But anyway, I'm wishing everybody a great week. Again, I'm going to be off air for the next 2 weeks, but I will come back with some great interviews and, of course, some great stuff. I'll probably go live a few times on YouTube in the meantime. Just to show you around the set and things like that. I'll definitely let everybody see a bird's eye view of what we're actually doing and what we're making. I'm playing, of course, another bad guy. It seems to be my calling these days, but I do enjoy it, and it seems like a very fun script, and so I'm excited to tell the story. And by the way, of course, I'll see you the next time I go live, and make sure you tune in because, ladies and gentlemen, even if you miss a little, you miss a lot. Thank you, everybody. Good night.